Imagine a doctor, the town's most beloved man, Dr. Harold Shipman. His patients feel safe when they see him. The town's elders bring him homemade cakes. They keep their doors open for him at all times. To them, Shipman isn't just a doctor. He is a part of the family, a trusted friend, a savior. But inside the syringe held by this savior isn't a cure, but rather pure death. This man, who smiled at his patients and checked their blood pressure by day, would watch them take their final breaths in their living rooms, in their favorite armchairs, in the afternoons. His murder weapon wasn't a gun or a knife. His weapon was that white coat we all trust. Today, we will talk about the darkest name in medical history, Harold Shipman, nicknamed Dr. Death, who cold-bloodedly killed over 250 people. And the most terrifying question is this: if he hadn't gotten greedy and made that final mistake, how many more would he have killed? In the north of England, near Manchester, there is a small, quiet town called Hyde. It was one of those peaceful settlements where everyone knew and trusted each other, where doors were left unlocked. However, from the early 1980s to the late 1990s, a strange statistic prevailed in this town. Elderly people, especially elderly women who appeared healthy, were suddenly losing their lives. They were all found in their homes, at peace, in their armchairs, as if they had fallen asleep. The person signing the death reports was always the same: Dr. Harold Shipman. No one suspected a thing, because he was Dr. Shipman, one of the family, whom everyone knew and trusted. He was an incredibly caring man who personally visited his patients' homes and cried with the families at funerals. But this care was strictly a mask for a deadly obsession. Today, we are opening the Case Archive file. We will examine how a doctor turned into history's most prolific serial killer, how he went uncaptured for over 20 years, and that simple, amateurish mistake that finally gave him away. If you are ready, we are entering the dark streets of Hyde. As in every serial killer story, we must go down to the root of the personality, that is, his childhood. But in Shipman's story, there is no abused child or broken family. Harold Frederick Shipman was born in 1946 to a working-class family. From the outside, he was normal. But on the inside, there was a strange, codependent relationship between him and his mother, Vera. His mother, Vera, was a dominant and obsessive character. She believed her son was superior to other children and wouldn't let him play with anyone. Harold was his mother's special child. But when Harold was 17, the trauma that would change his life occurred. His mother, Vera, was diagnosed with lung cancer. Young Harold did not leave his mother's bedside for months. And there, he witnessed something. While his mother writhed in pain, a family doctor would come to the house. The doctor would take a syringe from his bag, inject morphine into his mother, and within seconds, that woman, full of pain, would transform into a peaceful, calm state. For Harold, this scene was mesmerizing. A man would come, relieve the pain with a small needle in his hand, dominate the room, and bring his mother to peace. To him, this was a godlike power. According to experts, the seeds of Shipman's murders were sown in that very room. What caught his attention was not healing people, but possessing that absolute power over them. He wanted to possess the key between life and death. Shipman finished medical school, got married, and had children. He was a young, brilliant doctor. But in the mid-1970s, while working at a clinic in Yorkshire, he showed his first dark side. He hadn't started killing people yet, perhaps, but he had started destroying himself. His colleagues noticed that he frequently blacked out and acted strangely. The truth came out shortly after. Shipman was a drug addict. He was addicted to a powerful painkiller called pethidine. and to obtain this drug, he was writing fake prescriptions. Subsequently, he was caught. Normally, his license should have been revoked, and he should have been barred from the profession, but at that time, there was a strange leniency towards doctors. Shipman was sent to rehab, received a small fine, and was released with a "don't do it again." Following this, in 1977, he moved to the town of Hyde to turn over a new leaf. The people of Hyde embraced this man with a history of drugs and forgery, because Shipman was an incredible actor. He played the role of that respected, slightly arrogant, but highly competent family doctor perfectly. No one knew that the monster inside this man was about to awaken. His practice in Hyde was always full, but Shipman's favorite patients were clear: elderly women living alone, widows. Why? Because their deaths wouldn't attract attention or surprise anyone, because they had no one to question it or chase after the truth. Shipman's method of murder was frighteningly simple. In the afternoons, under the pretext of "I'll do a routine check" or "I'll look at your blood values," he would visit these elderly women in their homes. He would chat with them, perhaps drink their tea. Once he had gained their complete trust, he would open his bag and say, "I'm going to give you some vitamins, you'll feel better." But what was in the syringe wasn't vitamins, it was a lethal dose of diamorphine. Diamorphine was a medical type of narcotic. He would inject the drug and sit across from his victim. As the victim's eyes closed, their breathing slowed, and their hearts stopped, Shipman would just watch. In that moment, he was the god in that room. After the victim died, he wouldn't panic or flee. On the contrary, he would continue to stay in the house. Sometimes he would steal valuable ornaments from the house. Sometimes he would eat biscuits from the kitchen. Then he would call the police or the family. "I'm sorry. I found her dead when I arrived at the house. I suppose her heart couldn't take old age," he would say. Since he wrote the death report himself, he would record the cause of death as natural causes, and he would recommend that the bodies be cremated, because in a cremated body, no trace of poison would remain. For years, for exactly 20 years, this cycle continued. Serial killers usually make mistakes at the point where they think they won't get caught. They get consumed by hubris. For Shipman, the beginning of the end was June 24th, 1998. This time, the victim's name was Kathleen Grundy. She was 81 years old, but a lively, healthy, and active woman, a former mayor, one of the town's most beloved figures. Shipman killed her with the same method as the ordinary murders he always committed. But this time he wasn't satisfied. He made that fatal mistake for himself that would bring everything to an end. Kathleen Grundy was wealthy. After Grundy died, Shipman fabricated a will. Think about it. A typewritten, sloppy, amateurish piece of paper. The will read, "I leave all my estate to my doctor, Harold Shipman. I leave nothing to my daughter Angela." This was the most stupid move Shipman made, because Kathleen Grundy's daughter, Angela Woodruff, was not an ordinary person. She was a lawyer. She knew her mother wouldn't write such a will, and especially that her meticulous mother would never have anything to do with such bad typing. Angela went to the police. The police hesitated at first. The respected Dr. Shipman? Impossible, they said. But Angela was persistent. The police decided to have the grave opened. When Kathleen Grundy's body was examined, a lethal dose of morphine was found in her tissues. This was the moment that started the dominoes falling. The police began investigating Shipman's other patients, those elderly women who had died suddenly. Going back in time, 15 more bodies were exhumed from their graves. Morphine was found in all of them. And in the search conducted at Shipman's home, the typewriter used to write that fake will was found. This was the beginning of the end for Shipman. As the police deepened the investigation, they were horrified. Not only the morphine and the typewriter, but the real evidence was on Shipman's personal computer. Shipman thought he was smart. He was altering the medical records of the patients he killed on the computer, adding fake histories as if they had prior heart conditions. But there was one thing he forgot: technology. Forensic IT experts examined the dates the records were altered. Shipman had entered the system and changed the records after the patients had died. Every keystroke was actually a confession of his crime. In 2000, Shipman was taken to court. He was found guilty of 15 murders. But the real number wasn't that low. The official inquiry, known in the records as the Shipman Inquiry, revealed that he killed at least 215 and an estimated 250 people. Shipman did not say a single word in court. He didn't confess. He showed no remorse. He maintained his composure. He always had that arrogant expression on his face. "You cannot understand my intellect." Consequently, he was sentenced to life imprisonment. Serial killer Dr. Harold Shipman did not serve his sentence. 4 years after entering prison, in 2004, one day before his 57th birthday, he was found hanging in his cell. He took his secrets, his impulses, and the answer to the question why to the grave. According to some, he was reliving his mother's death over and over again. According to others, he was just a narcissist who loved playing God. But the biggest wreckage he left behind was not the 250 people who died. The real wreckage he left behind was the sense of trust. This event changed the doctor-patient relationship in England forever. No one could look at that smiling doctor coming with a syringe in his hand as innocently as before, because, as it is known, the devil is not always horned and red. He could come wearing a white coat and a stethoscope. This is the Case Archive. Be careful who you trust. See you in the next file.